The crystalline chambers of the Galactic Council had never witnessed such silence. For 3 solar cycles, the representatives of 47 civilizations had debated the human problem with increasing frustration. The bipedal mammals from the third planet of an unremarkable yellow star had become the most troublesome species the galaxy had ever encountered. Chancellor Vextara, her serpentine form coiled around the central podium, addressed the assembly with barely contained irritation. "The humans have rejected our 17th diplomatic overture," she announced, her voice resonating through the neural translators. "They refuse to acknowledge our authority, our laws, or our very reasonable requests for compliance." A chorus of clicks, whistles, and electromagnetic pulses filled the chamber, the galactic equivalent of frustrated grumbling. The Zephyrians fluttered their gossamer wings in agitation, while the stone-like chronary ground their mineral teeth audibly. "What exactly do they want?" inquired Ambassador Felanoon of the Aquatic Dominion, his gills flapping in exasperation. Vextara's 4 eyes dimmed with exhaustion. "That's precisely the problem. They don't want anything from us. They simply want to be left alone." The concept was so alien to the assembled races that several translators malfunctioned, producing confused static. For millennia, the Galactic Council had operated on a simple principle. All sentient species eventually sought membership, trading sovereignty for protection, technology, and prosperity. It was the natural order of cosmic civilization. Humans, however, had shattered that assumption. When first contact occurred, the Council had expected the usual sequence: awe, gratitude, negotiations, and integration. Instead, humanity's response had been polite but firm. "Thank you for the offer, but we'll pass." The rejection had been so unprecedented that the Council initially assumed a translation error. Subsequent attempts at diplomacy had been met with increasingly blunt refusals. Humans didn't want advanced technology, they preferred developing their own. They didn't want protection, they'd handle their own defense. They didn't want to join the galactic economy. Earth's resources would remain Earth's resources. "Perhaps," suggested Counselor Mindak of the Psionic Collective, his massive brain pulsating with thought, "we should demonstrate the consequences of their isolation. A few trade embargoes, some strategic pressure." "Already attempted," Vextara replied, her tail lashing in frustration. Human worlds have become completely self-sufficient. They've developed closed-loop ecosystems, fusion technology, and defensive capabilities that— She paused, consulting her datapad. "That our analysts describe as concerningly innovative." The chamber erupted in heated discussion. The elegant Celestials chimed their disapproval, while the militaristic Corvan Empire growled about making examples. Through it all, one voice cut through the chaos like a plasma blade. "Remove them." The chamber fell silent. All eyes turned to General Thracax of the Hegemony Fleet, his scarred exoskeleton gleaming under the chamber's artificial light. "The solution is obvious," he continued, his mandibles clicking with each word. "If they refuse to join civilized society, they don't deserve to exist alongside it." The proposal was radical, even by Council standards. Species have been subjugated, relocated, or quarantined, but never eliminated entirely. Yet as the debate continued, more voices joined the chorus. The humans had become an embarrassment, a crack in the Council's authority that threatened the very foundations of galactic order. After 7 days of deliberation, the vote was cast, 47-0 in favor of human remediation. The Hegemony Fleet assembled at the edge of the Sol system 3 months later. 2,000 warships, representing the combined military might of the galaxies. Greatest civilizations, hung in space like a cloud of metallic locusts. General Thracax stood on the bridge of his flagship, watching the blue-green marble of Earth rotate peacefully in the distance. "Sir," his communications officer reported, "we're receiving a transmission from the human homeworld." On screen, the face that appeared was unremarkable by galactic standards: bilateral symmetry, dual optical sensors, primitive vocal apparatus. But something in those small, dark eyes made Thracax's chitin crawl. General Thracax, the human said calmly. I'm Admiral Sarah Chun of the Terran Defense Force. I assume you're here about our membership status. Admiral Chun, Thracax replied, his voice dripping with condescension. You have been granted one final opportunity to accept Council authority. Comply or face elimination. Chun's expression didn't change. We told you already. We're not interested. Then you have chosen extinction. No, Chun said quietly. We've chosen freedom. Computer, activate Protocol 7. The transmission ended. For a moment, nothing happened. Then space around the hegemony fleet began to change. It started as Ripple's tiny distortions in the fabric of reality itself. Thracax watched in growing horror as his sensors registered impossible readings. The space between his ships wasn't empty anymore. It was full of something that shouldn't exist, humans. They materialized from nowhere and everywhere, not ships, but humans themselves, floating in the vacuum of space without protective gear. Their eyes glowed with an inner light, and when they moved, reality bent around them like heated metal. What in the seven hells? Thracax began. But his words were cut short as one of the floating humans gestured almost casually toward his flagship. The ship didn't explode. It simply stopped being a ship. One moment it was a kilometer-long dreadnought. The next, it was a cluster of harmless asteroids. Across the fleet, similar transformations occurred. Weapons turned to flowers. Engines became schools of fish that somehow swam through vacuum. Entire vessels folded themselves into impossible geometric shapes before drifting away as origami cranes made of starlight. Admiral Chun's voice echoed across all frequencies simultaneously, though no transmission was detected. You see, General, you made a fundamental miscalculation. You assumed we were still the same species you first encountered. Thracax found himself standing not on his bridge, but in what appeared to be a vast garden filled with impossible colors. Other council representatives materialized around him, their expressions mirrors of his own terror and confusion. Humanity didn't reject your offer because we were primitive, Chun continued, her voice coming from everywhere and nowhere. We rejected it because we had already transcended it. While you built your empire on dominance and control, we chose a different path. We became something new. But your worlds, stammered Chancellor Vextara, her serpentine form now somehow sporting butterfly wings. Your cities, your people, they appeared normal. Chun smiled, and for a moment she looked exactly like the baseline human they had. First dismissed. Appearances can be deceiving. We learned long ago that the universe is far stranger and more wonderful than your council ever imagined. We didn't need your technology because we became the technology. We didn't need your protection because we became the protection. The guard around them began to dissolve, revealing the vast emptiness of space. But now that emptiness was filled with wondrous nebulae that sang in harmonious voices, stars that danced in formation, planets that existed in multiple dimensions simultaneously. We tried to warn you gently, Chun said as the council representatives found themselves safely returned to their respective homeworlds. We told you we wanted to be left alone, but you couldn't accept that a species might choose a path different from yours. Thracax looked around his reconstructed bridge, his crew staring at their instruments in bewilderment. Everything was exactly as it had been, except for one detail. Every weapon in his arsenal had been replaced with seeds from Earth's gardens. Consider this a lesson, Chun's voice whispered through the ship's communication system. The universe is vast enough for many different kinds of intelligence. But if you ever threaten a species simply for choosing their own destiny. The voice paused, and for a moment, Thracax glimpsed the true scope of humanity's transformation beings. A pure possibility, shapers of reality itself, children of a small blue world who had learned to dance with the fundamental forces of existence. Well, Chun concluded, we trust you'll make better choices in the future. The hegemony fleet returned to council space in ships that bloomed flowers with each engine pulse. The human problem, as it came to be known in the historical records, was officially closed. Humanity remained alone by choice, but the galaxy had learned an important lesson. Sometimes the greatest power lies not in forcing others to join you, but in becoming something so extraordinary that the very attempt becomes meaningless. And in the depths of space, between the stars, children of Earth continued their dance with infinity, free to become whatever they chose to be.